I'm Kristen Welker. President Trump today unleashing a new arsenal of attacks against Michael Cohen.
He's a weak person and not a very smart person. What he's trying to do is end, and it's very simple. He's got himself a big prison sentence, and he's trying to get a much lesser prison sentence by making up a story.
Cohen has been a frequent target of the president since July, when the former fixer who once said he'd take a bullet for Mr. Trump started cooperating with the special counsel after pleading guilty to violating campaign finance laws stemming from that hush money payment to Stormy Daniels.
What turned out he wasn't a very good lawyer.
Tonight, the president's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, telling NBC News President Trump's written answers to Mueller about plans to build a Trump Tower in Russia were consistent with what Cohen said. It all comes as the president has been intensifying his attacks against Mueller. Tweeting today before the Cohen news broke, the probe is an illegal Joseph McCarthy-style witch hunt, and asking, did you ever see an investigation more in search of a crime? Still, today's charges putting a new spotlight on Mr. Trump's business dealings with Russia, which he dismissed during the campaign.
I will tell you right now, zero. I have nothing to do with Russia.
Including to Lester last year.
I have nothing to do with Russia. I have no investments in Russia, none whatsoever. I don't have property in Russia.
The president saying today nothing's changed.
I didn't do the project. I decided not to do the project. There would be nothing wrong if I did do it. I was running my business while I was campaigning. There was a good chance that I wouldn't have won, in which case I would have gone back into the business. And why should I lose lots of opportunities?
In yet another shot at Mueller, Giuliani today accused him of playing politics, saying he, quote, once again files a charge just as the president is leaving for a meeting with world leaders, saying Mueller did the same thing before the president's summit with Putin in Helsinki.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.